It's game day in Atlanta. Welcome inside Phillips Arena. Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton, and the Raptors trying to bounce back, Sherman. It's been a long time since we have seen back-to-back losses from this team. They do a good job of bouncing back, and part of it right now is they're going to have to bounce back with some banged-up people. Kyle Lowry, we got an injury update on Patrick Patterson, but Sherman, talk about the mindset of this team trying to fight back, because at this time of year, everybody's got nicks and bruises.
Well, they do, and for the Raptors, it's about getting to the finish line, and for them to do that, they're going to need all hands on deck. I mean, they're going to need the next man to step up, and this team has been built, I think, off of their depth. Since that Sacramento trade, the depth that they acquired really allowed them to sustain and withstand some injuries. I mean, DeMar's been out, Tyler Hansborough's been out, Patrick Patterson out now. These guys have been able to find ways to get it done, and it's the next man up.
Right.
And I think when everybody stays prepared and professional, I think they got a chance to fill the voids, and not only fill the voids, but in some instances raise the level at some
opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this team, I think, has been completely professional in terms of the guys who don't play a lot, the Steve Novaks, the Landry Fields, Chuck Hayes. They've been ready to go, so I think that's just going to be a normal thing for them to step into place when guys go down.
All right, let's talk about the injury updates. The biggest thing is Kyle Lowry. People were worried that there might have been issues around concussions and all that. Kyle says he's fine. He went through practice today, expected to play. The other bit of news we got, Sherm, was Patrick Patterson. And interesting how we got differing views on it, where Dwayne Casey said it was good news because they have something a little bit more definitive. And there's Patterson, the player, who was disappointed that he wouldn't be able to play after the initial time off because now he's wearing a brace and he just doesn't see himself getting back into action that quickly.
And it's no surprise that there's conflicting views in terms of what's going on. For Dwayne Casey, of course he wants Patrick back as quickly as possible, but you've got to think big picture if you're the coach. You've got to think long term, and for Patrick to come back too early would be so detrimental in case he re-aggravates that elbow. Having said that, for Patrick, he wants to hit the floor. I mean, players want to play the game, and if they feel even close to 100%, they're going to kind of override some of the, I think, stop signs that might be in the way. And I think for Patrick, a little bit of pain. I've played through it before. Let's go. But the medical staff feels it's better to hold him out for another 7 to 10 and make sure he's closer to 100%. So I just think that the right thing to do at this point, Jonesy, is to make sure that he is as healthy as possible so that he doesn't re-aggravate the injury and he can play for the rest of the season.
Well, and that's just it. It's the time of year, too. I mean, if you had, 15, 16 games to go and you were out of it, maybe you don't rush back. You start looking towards getting back a little bit in rehab in the summer. But this Toronto Raptor team looks like they're going to be playing into late April and early May. So, I mean, being cautious is very prudent right now. One of the teams trying to make sure they're playing in late April and early May are the Atlanta Hawks. They have the longest post-game streak in the Eastern Conference, 6 years in a row, tied with the Boston Celtics. And after a down period, last time the Raptors saw them, they were 25-25. They slipped a little, but Sherm, they seem to be catching fire right now.
They have. They've won 4 in a row. This is a team that's kind of coming into their own and understanding that, okay, we've been to the playoffs before. We know what it takes to make a stretch run, and they're kind of solidifying themselves. And overall, they're a difficult team from a standpoint of they can hurt you from the three-point line. They can hurt you from breaking you down off the dribble. So another challenge for the Raptors. But Atlanta, just like the Raptors, understands what's at stake, and they're going to play for their playoff life. So you heard Dwayne Casey talking about his team. They need to play with desperation, play with urgency. Atlanta is the same thing. Yes. They're going to come out and they're going to throw punches. Their confidence is high. They're playing at a high level right now. And they're looking at the Raptors and saying, yeah, you're third in the conference, but we can still get a W. So the Raptors better be prepared for a dogfight in this game.
Well, and you never know how things are going to shake down the last 15, 16, 17 games. I mean, we talk about potential playoff matchups with Chicago or Washington or Brooklyn. Heck, don't rule out Charlotte or Atlanta. You just never know what's going to happen. This Atlanta team, Sherm, they do a nice job moving the ball. They're one of the best teams in terms of assist to turnover. They move the ball well. They get their shooters open. Guys like Korver, Teague, all of these guys are playing well. A key for the Raptors tonight will certainly be their defense.
Absolutely, and I think that's got to be the mantra for the rest of the season and the playoffs. But having said that, Teague does a great job with his quicks. He's growing as a point guard. He's maturing. He's understanding how to run a team. He's a guy who I really like his development, and you're seeing him now make better decisions when he gets in there, finding guys on the three-point line. And Kyle Korver, to me, is more than just a shooter.
Yeah.
He can rebound a little. He'll stay within the defensive principles, but he's deadly from the three-point line. So you better be aware. Close out the three-point shot. You can't close out with space. You got to close out and make sure there's no airspace because he can let it fly.
All right, well, you can tune in and see what's happening tonight. Sportsnet 1 at 7:30. We get you going with Game Day at 7 o'clock on NBA TV Canada. And on the radio side, TSN 1050 Toronto.